Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am a very strong supporter of both the SBIR and the STTR programs, and in fact, I had introduced legislation to provide more funds and permanence for these programs when I was a member of the House. So I note that both of you would like this program to be made permanent so that we are not facing a reauthorization gap with regard to these programs. And I'm sure that if we do make these programs permanent, that there is some language that we should consider to make sure that there's enough flexibility within the permanent program. And I would appreciate that kind of, the areas where you would like to see that kind of flexible language as we go forward, because the impression I have is that both the chair and the vice chair and the ranking member very much support, if not all of us, very much support these two programs. So could you give some thought and provide some guidance as to what kind of flexibility? So, Mr. Williams, I'm glad that you came to Hawaii. Was that because Hawaii is considered one of the underrepresented places?
It's actually, they put on an event every 2 years, and they have been for probably 25 years. And so every 2 years, the program managers will go out to Hawaii.
Great. So it's not because we're...
You are not an underrepresented.
Yes.
You do actually reasonably well.
Good. We could always do better. And I don't know if you have the data as to whether or not we're doing well in Hawaii with regard to minority-owned and women-owned business.
I can provide that data to you. I don't have it with me.
That'd be great. So one thing that is important is that the small businesses in the various states are aware of the STT, these two programs. And then the other thing is that one of you mentioned, I think it was Mr. Smith, the value of death. That's when I take it that when our companies are in phase 3, where they have to go out and get their own funding to keep going, that's where things begin to happen that do not allow them to go forward. So I think both of you might have mentioned that there could be some way that some of the funds that you have could go into phase 3 support. Did you mention that, Mr. Smith?
Senator, what we do at day one, essentially, with our SBR companies is start thinking about where is your phase 3 money. Because there are multiple places where you may or may not find those funds. But you've got to start working that issue at day one. And it can be difficult aligning the technology development with the POM process. In DOD, it's exceedingly difficult because it's locked down. But we start those conversations, we start those linkages, we put the right folks together early on so there isn't that gap, okay? One of the ways that gap has been filled is with the Rapid Innovation Program that Congress authorizes every year. That's been exceedingly helpful. In fact, the Navy's got a very good transition rate on those SBIR technologies, making it into program of record, because that up to $3 million makes the difference.
Is the Rapid Innovation Fund, is that a program available to all of the 11 entities that participate?
No, it's not. And it's also done once a year. Definitely with the agencies that continue to purchase. There's certain agencies like NIH. Well, no, I take it back. I think all agencies, there's a value of almost funding a stage past phase 2. You've proven it out, you've demonstrated, but then really to commercialize it. So we've definitely taken the administrative funds. And one of the challenges with the administrative funds is it was a pilot. So it was a 3-year pilot of a 6-year program. And so a lot of agencies were really concerned with actually even using it. And we really only spent about 25% of the funds that were available. They had to come to us at SBA first to get approval for it, and then they had to implement it. They were concerned about hiring people and doing things that would really impact commercialization, because if the program stopped in 3 years, in the government, it's hard to get rid of people and things like that. So I think one of the things in flexibility is to make that program permanent so we could use it, cap the amount. So like the Air Force hired 6 individuals that, like at the Navy, they were more forward thinking and aligning with acquisition, but they did the same thing in the Air Force to hire people that would help in commercialization. And HHS has done the same. They've hired some of their people to work with the physicians to figure out, okay, now the technology needs to go, who are your markets? Same with NSF. They've all developed programs. So I think everyone could use, whether it's funding or more assistance with people that have expertise on how you find those other markets. It may not be providing money, but just the experience is what most of the firms don't have.
I think that continuity is very important because we've already made the investments in these companies in phase one and phase two, and
Correct.
I hate for them to get into phase three and not be able to find the funding that to commercialize what
Correct.
they've come up with. So my time is up. Thank you.